start recording. All right, we're talking about solar suitcases. Sorry, I forgot to start recording right when we started, but don't worry, you haven't missed much. Here's the last picture from the installation. So this is again in, let's see if it says what city. I guess could be the city of Tavu. I don't know. Oh no, it says Makueni, Kenya. So anyway, we great news. We have a kit again this year that we get to build and send abroad. So my plan is to have make 2 students build this year's kit, and I'll probably arrange to bring it to your house. We're going to need to be creative since we don't have class together yet. All right, and in addition, this year, PG&E has provided funding for 4 new kits that haven't been built yet, that they want us to keep permanently assembled and at Annalee to be ready for use in case of emergency. So, and there's definitely been times when that would have been helpful. I remember the first fire. The first big fire we had, the 2017 fire, we had people sheltering in the Annalee Big Gym, and I went and volunteered, because I didn't have to evacuate, but we didn't have any power. No, we did have power mostly at that time, but these solar suitcases are perfect for charging phones and things, and it would have been perfect at that time, along with other particular things. So anyway, today, to get started, we're going to discuss emergency preparedness in general and what that might mean for us as individuals and for our school and our community. And, we're just going to be getting started on this solar stuff. So at the end of class, what I'm asking you to do is respond to a Google form with some questions. I'll tell you when, during our presentation here, when we get to the point where that would be something you need to remember. So anyway, in the coming weeks, we're going to learn how solar energy works, how to design an electrical circuit. And in the end, each of you is going to design your own emergency solar kit. Sadly, we don't have the money to have each of you build your own solar kit and keep it. That would be thousands of dollars, but we'll design it and you'll understand how it works. And who knows, maybe someday you'll build yourself a solar kit. So along the way, you're going to learn how solar power works, how simple electrical circuits work, and I hope you'll gain an appreciation of where your power comes from. So just again, details. We Share Solar is this group in Berkeley. It's a nonprofit that builds and makes these solar suitcases, and they're fantastic. They were started by a husband and wife, where the husband was an engineer and the wife was a doctor, and she went to Africa on a medical mission, a trip of some kind. They were trying to improve, trying to reduce infant mortality, try to prevent deaths that happen during birth. And they figured out if they just provided light, literally provided light to hospitals and doctors' offices around, in Africa where they didn't have power, just providing light would help save so many lives. Imagine trying to give birth by candlelight versus having a really clear, bright light in the room. So they started building these solar suitcases, and that's a group called We Care Solar, and they actually still exist, and they place these solar suitcases in hospitals all around the world. But then they made this We Share Solar group that gets students involved. So, and as I said before, PG&E pays for our participation in this, which is great. So right now we're going to go through the We Share Solar introductory presentation. So if you just stick with me, we're going to go through this. You'll have access to this slide deck when I post the assignment for today. All right, so this is our intro into emergency preparedness. Here we go. This is an interesting and very colorful chart that talks about disasters, high impact disasters, apparently high impact disasters are occurring 5 times more often now than they were in the 80s. I want you to just quietly, you don't have to speak up, think about why, if you can think about what might be causing these things. So there's the colors, I'm sure it's hard to see on your little screen, but orange is severe storms. So they seem to have really grown a lot. Um, but everything has gone up. So the question is, if you'll think about why do you think we're having more droughts, freezing, cyclones, storms, wildfires, and flooding? And then in a second, I'll go to the next page. All right. It can't be linked in a perfectly provable way, but it does seem to be that climate change, global warming, is making weather and drought and fire related disasters happening more often. Wildfire season, as you I'm sure know, living in this area, is longer than ever now. And I mean, we're having to deal with fire evacuations and warnings into October instead of, that's a late fire season. Hurricanes thankfully don't affect us, but the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico area of America just get hit darn hard by hurricanes. Flooding is increasing. We got flooded out 2 years ago in Sebastopol and around the county here. And tornadoes. These things are all climate change related. To be best prepared for disasters that might happen, we want to be prepared for emergencies, and we want to develop the ability to be resilient in the face of disasters. So these are two different concepts. Emergency preparedness means being ready to handle an emergency, personally, the school as well, neighborhood, community. And the disaster resilience means being organized and being able to recover well and quickly from a disaster. So, and it says up here, a prepared community is equipped to take care of everyone when a crisis strikes, and a resilient community is able to, put itself back together and get back on track, even when crises are frequent. So I'd like us to just discuss briefly what it would mean to be prepared for an emergency in our particular situation. So I invite you to literally unmute yourself and say if you have something to add. We're just going to talk for a minute. Let's talk first about being prepared for an emergency. What can we do as people who live in Sonoma County? What can we do to help be prepared, help ourselves be prepared for an emergency?
Have resources set aside for when disasters do happen.
That's a great point. Yeah, set aside, make some planning, set aside resources. Thanks, David. Someone else? I'm asking, what can we do to be prepared for an emergency?
We could make a plan.
That's a great idea. I'll make a plan of what you want to do in case of an emergency. Thank you. Let's get a couple more. There's 24 of you here today.
A good one is to keep a preparedness bag so that you don't have to pack and all that.
That's a great idea. A go bag, a preparedness bag. I want, yeah, thank you. Great point. Yes?
You can be pre-prepared, I guess.
Be pre-prepared?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what would that look like? How would you, what do you think we could do to be prepared ahead of time?
Have stuff ready.
Yeah.
Just for whenever you have to go, you just get in, just go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, last year, I want to say it's kind of funny because I when we were maybe going to have to evacuate, I was, no, this fall, just, yeah, I say last year, but you know, whatever, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I was telling a friend, yeah, you know, screw it. I'm just going to walk out of the house. It's going to be fine. I don't need to go bag. And then my friend said, oh, so you're going to just have that one pair of underwear that you're wearing, you know, when you're in the shelter? And I was like, oh yeah, I could probably pack some stuff, like a change of clothes. I was like, yeah, all right. Maybe I'm not as ready for a disaster as I thought I was. Okay, so let's talk about resilience. What do you think we could do to be resilient in our in the face of disaster? If any thoughts? It's a slightly different thing. It's like recovering from when a disaster happens. Resilience is more about getting back to where you wish you had always been. It's a little trickier concept, but anyone want to share about resilience? Guys are very shy today. I don't want to shame you, but fourth period had some great ideas. I'm looking at them on my paper.
Can you explain more about what you mean, please?
Yeah, resilience. Resilience is being able to recover from something bad that happens. To be able to recover quickly and well. So I'll share some of the things people fourth period thought of were, of course, having a plan for what you're going to do in case of a disaster. That's sort of being prepared. That helps you be resilient, right? Having good plans. Somebody fourth period said, hey, if you have construction crews ready to help rebuild and repair things, you know, that would be a way to be resilient as a community. I imagine if you were worried, if it was like a severe storm, having teams of people that you've contacted and prepared with ahead of time, a community could arrange for people that would be ready to clear fallen trees, you know, so the roads would be clear, and to help recover from fallen trees and, you know, landslides and things. That's the sort of thing a community could do. Having a good system of communication, you know, if a community is ready to, you know, send out emergency alerts on cell phones, for example, you know, that can help with recovery as well as, you know, preventing death. Anyway, anyone have any other thoughts? Yeah, somebody put in the text, making sure too many jobs aren't lost. You know that, yeah, when you have a disaster and a bunch of people lose their jobs or can't go to work, then it's really, it affects the whole community. So,
A big one for us was like rebuilding houses and all that.
yeah. So having the community have the resources to help people rebuild. Yeah. I mean, I would honestly, it's not like each of us as individuals is going to make our community more resilient in some dramatic way, you know, right? It's all part of a sort of a cultural thing. Anyway, good. Thanks for talking about that. Go ahead. Somebody else had something else?
We can like take the things that we need just in case, and the things that we don't need, we would just leave them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so listen, on a piece of paper or in another window, you know, open a Google Doc or something. I want you to write down a couple of little notes, just because we just finished talking about it. What are 2 things that would help you be prepared for an emergency? Just you personally, you're gonna put it in a Google form later, but I just think it would help if you wrote it down on a little scrap of paper, or just open another tab and open a Google Doc or an email and type a couple things. And then what are 2 things that would help you personally be resilient, be able to recover quickly from an emergency. And if it helps you, you can imagine a particular emergency, like imagine a fire or a flood, something that maybe you've actually been through. So let's take just a couple of minutes. And literally, I'm asking you to write something down, either type it in a place where you can type on the computer, or write it, scribble it on a piece of paper. And then in a sec, we'll move on. So just another minute, and then we'll move on. Okay. We're going to just talk a little bit more about electricity and how these solar suitcases will be able to help us. Access to electricity is important for both preparedness and resilience. And as you've, I'm sure, experienced in case of a disaster like a fire, flood, earthquake, sometimes power gets shut off, right? This is a picture of power lines knocked out in Delaware. That's, in America, on the East Coast after a big storm. Got different kinds of electrical needs. What we would call essential electricity is light, for, being able to function safely at night, and to take care of basic needs like eating and using the, health facilities, communication, phones, and other, in our current modern era, computers as well, that allow us to communicate and coordinate. And then there's life-saving equipment that needs to be run off electricity, things that hospitals and medical personnel need. What we're going to do this year is we're going to build 4 of these solar suitcase kits. I'll figure out how we're going to do it as the year progresses, but they're going to be set aside and kept at Annalee and be charged up at all times, so that when we have an emergency in the community, we can get these kits out into the field to where it can help, to where they can help. So we're going to be talking about this more later, but along the way you'll learn how these things work. And the kits are going to be great for providing essential electricity. Here's a picture of one of the kits, and you can see, hopefully you can see on the far right, there's a light bulb. So there's a light plugged in there, and it's on a long cord, so you can run it across the room, hang it from the ceiling, that sort of thing. And then you also see that it's charging a cell phone. So these solar suitcases, the battery is about what's that front rectangular thing inside? It's got a kind of a diamond-shaped logo on it in the solar suitcase, and the battery that this kit has can charge phones. It can run a laptop computer, things like that. run the lights. It can't do things like run a refrigerator or your air conditioner or big appliances. But it can do a lot with the smaller loads. And then they have some examples. The solar suitcases have provided great emergency power. Here's some examples, and that's that yellow suitcase. They sent these things to Haiti after a 2010 earthquake, helped in the Philippines in 2013, Nepal in 2015, in Puerto Rico after the 2017 Hurricane Maria. So there's a picture of people hiking with one of the kits in Nepal. Here's a dude climbing a mountain with one of those things on his back, which is awesome. And then here's a picture of people getting medical treatment with one of the lights, and the solar suitcase is that yellow thing over on the right side. So this is a perfect example of how the suitcase, can help in an emergency situation. So anyway, I'm looking forward to going through this unit with you guys and teaching you how it all works. So that's all for today's presentation. I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll post this recording later if you came in late.